What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about The Devil in Me. We got a new trailer, actually the first official, full-length trailer, and then we got a release window. Now, the release window very much scares me, but let's talk about the trailer first, because I think that's probably the highlight of the entire stuff they showed. The trailer looks great. I mean, I really, the atmosphere and the setup to this game is what really interests me the most. I think it looks really, visually, the lighting looks good. The characters look pretty darn solid, and then the concept of this, this mansion that's going to have all these different kinds of booby traps and all of these rooms that are imitations of something else. It really, to me, going in, if we just base Man of Medan, Little Hope, House of Ashes, and this off of their first trailer, this is probably the best setup, the best first thing that they've done for one of these games. So and again, we've talked about this before, they're on an upward swing. Whether or not you think The Quarry is, better or worse than any of the Dark Pictures games, I think the Dark Pictures games specifically, the three of them, have gotten better each time, right? Man of Medan really started very, very low, and then it got better each one, kind of incrementally. So hopefully this one is the best one of the four. It's the Season 1 finale, right? Then they go into a Season 2 with more of these games. The acting, the voice acting, it always scares me. There always tends to be, it kind of goes back and forth. The Quarry had some really, really good performances. It also had some of the worst performances I've ever seen in a game. Man of Medan was very mixed. Little Hope was either really good or really awful. House of Ashes, I think, did a really good job of kind of putting everything together. I thought a lot of the actors in House of Ashes was good. So I'm a little concerned about the acting for this game. One thing I do want to point out, though, that I find maybe interesting and we could talk about, the game seems to have a very small cast, and that's just my, my opinion based off this trailer. It doesn't seem like there is a lot of them. Now, Man of Medan, I think also, I'm trying to remember, 5 or 6 people. I think Little Hope, honestly, had a somewhat small cast as well. But House of Ashes obviously grew it. The Quarry had quite a few characters, right? And there's ways of doing it, there's a good ways and bad ways of doing small casts and big casts. I think a small cast for a game like this could make a lot of sense and could really work depending on how the game is, right? It would really go back to an Until Dawn. You can have characters, and as long as the setup is good, as long as whatever the basic plot of the game is good, you don't have to I know some people play these games just because of the 500 decisions. You don't necessarily need all of them, in my opinion, to make a good game. I think Until Dawn does it perfectly with limited decision making, especially compared to nowadays, right? But I think you really have to nail what the concept is. So this mansion, that needs to be the draw. And if there's only 5-6 characters, there's only 5-6 characters, right? Maybe some of them, maybe you literally cannot kill any of them until at least halfway in the game. I think that's kind of fine. Now, the one pretty big, really glaring weakness about this entire thing, though, is the release date. Now, we don't have, again, the date itself. It's at autumn of 2022. Now, that autumn is weird because you normally hear everybody say fall. I can't actually remember the last time a gaming developer that I've paid attention to has said autumn, but autumn is the same thing. So it's the end of September to the end of December. That's the window of autumn in the world, okay? So I am pretty worried about that, simply for the fact of, this game comes out in October, it gets completely buried. Now, I've said it before, these games, they're different audiences, they're different demographics. A game like this, or even a game like The Quarry, it blew up on Twitch because, everybody's watching people play it and making decisions. I mean, I do think decision-based games like this can very much stand out, and they can make an impact, let's say, on YouTube or Twitch in, viewership, but I don't know. I don't know how much The Quarry is going to sell long-term. That's obviously something that only they would know, and they would probably care about pretty heavily, right? So I just feel that although it's a horror game, and although October makes a lot of sense for a horror game, and I actually like, horror games coming out in October, October is so bad. It's just so awful. Bad in a good way, right? It has so many games. I just feel like the game went to get buried. November is starting to turn out the same way. We're probably going to have, God of War, Pokemon, but we're going to have several big games in November. I think the end of November is probably the best place to slide this game in. You go into early December. Now you really are past Halloween, so now a horror game doesn't. But yet again, the Callisto Protocol literally comes out in the beginning of December. Maybe that scares it away from that, right? Maybe Hogwarts Legacy comes out in December. I think my hope for when they release this thing is the end of November, which would separate it enough from everything else that it's okay. Or if you could do it because I think autumn technically starts September 21st. If you can do it that last week of September, I think that's fine too. You know, October starts kind of quick with like Midnight Suns and all that stuff, but it doesn't start like on October 1st. I think October 7th is the first big game of October. So if you have this game come out the very end of September, you've given it a week and a half, you know, away from other games. And don't forget, this game's only $40. These games are not full price, so that should definitely help it as well. I just hope for the best. You know, I want these games, and I want this game, I guess, specifically we're talking about, I want them to kind of sink or swim on their own. Does that make sense? Like, if the game is good, I want it to be good. I want it to sell well because it's good. If the game is really good, but it gets destroyed and buried because every other game in the world is out at the same time, that's not really the game. So now, at the same time, if the game is bad, I want it to fail on its own. I don't want it to fail because people are playing other games. I want it to fail if the game is bad. You show them a message like, no, we won't support bad games. We're waiting for a good one. That's what I hope to see. So I think releasing at the end of September is a pretty good middle point there, right? Because it can sink or swim kind of completely on its own. There are other games in September, games obviously in the beginning of October, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll be keeping my eyes open. I'm sure we'll see much more of this game over the next couple months, including a release date. It's actually kind of weird they did a trailer with a game that could be releasing in like 2 months. It could be 2.5 months, and they didn't give the date. They gave a window for it. So maybe that does mean December. Maybe that means later rather than earlier. Otherwise, they would have given a date. You could definitely read into it like that. But I'll be keeping my eyes peeled. We'll make more videos as more of this game comes out. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on so you know when all these videos go up. If you want to follow me or support me anywhere else, all of my social media is in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.